So we'll start with the video. They run maybe a minute and a half or so, and then we can jump into the slides. So when we created this video, we have a number of different companies that are showcased in this. It's going to be a mix of HoloLens 2 and iPad. It's important to understand that, of course, everyone understands what the future of HoloLens 2 is. So we certainly support a number of devices in addition to the HoloLens 2. We're really going to be showing that in a demo with MetaQuest 3 and the iPad. But this is a great video just to kind of set the stage, really show how Manifest is used in operations today. It can just as easily be used for training. In a lot of cases, we start with customers in a training environment, and they realize all the great content that they built for training is as applicable when someone is actually doing a real job on a factory floor or in an airplane hangar. We're really agnostic when it comes to the use of Manifest because it can be applied to so many different verticals and so many different situations. And once you have all this great content, there's no limitation to putting it in the hands of the technicians and the operators that are actually doing real work. So I want people to really think about not only what it could mean for training, but also operations and how it really starts with the great content. So with that, I'll start the video.
These machines can hurt you, man you. So I want you to do it right. Here it is. I'm giving you a device that you're going to be super awesome in it.
Where Manifest can help us is that local expert is in the tablet, it's on the iPad, it's in the app.
The future is definitely spatial computing, and training people on plans with this is going to definitely make things easier for, I think, for every company around the world.
So again, a very, very short video with some pretty ominous music, but it definitely tells a good story in about a minute and a half. So what we're really going to talk about today is Manifest, and this is our flagship offering. It really is more than just work instructions that have been digitized. It's really a digital work assistant, and we'll go into some of the ways that it can help both for kind of training or content or process retention, so that people are actually learning as they're doing something, but also be a really strong operational tool where you can identify faults, leave evidence, tie it to any backend system, any IoT system, or any ERP system. So Manifest has really been created to be fully implemented into whatever you have going on today, so that it is very much an accelerator of work processes and gives people the all the information they need to have to be successful when doing a job for the first time or the 100th time. So we're going to talk briefly about the challenges, really why we're here today. Some of these will be very obvious. We'll talk about where we are with Manifest, and we'll dip into maybe just very briefly kind of talking about the use cases that this slide deck usually focuses on. But rather than go into our difference and what's next, I think after we just briefly touch on the use cases, we'll just jump over to Johnny and show you it in a live demo. So the reason we're here, every single company on the planet today is facing these challenges. Certainly rising cost is a big issue. We're really asking people to be more efficient than ever before so they can help mitigate what's happening with supply chain, inflation in a lot of parts of the world, et cetera. And we really just, as our customers tell us, they really don't have the opportunity anymore to kind of allow for a lot of mistakes, a slowdown of processes when you're getting new people up to speed on how to actually get something done right the first time, et cetera. At the same time, if you think about all the experts that you have in your company today, a lot of them are either leaving the company through retirement, or you're facing challenges getting people excited about working in your company, asking them to do what, for decades has been a really great job. And so we're seeing what's a larger and larger skill gap really happening across the world, because if the experts leave, it makes it much, much harder to find the resources to be able to teach people how to do something successfully. And so that skill gap is very, very important. And so we're looking to mitigate that skill gap with Manifest. At the same time, at the outset of this talk, I talked about how we are really focused on integrating Manifest into everything that is already happening inside of a company environment. And that's really to help mitigate the challenges of the complexity. A lot of companies are introducing new technology all the time, maybe new processes, maybe they have newer machines, or they want to create newer machines for their customers, and they're more complex than ever before. And so a traditional technician might need a lot more help to be proficient earlier. And really, how do we lower the error rate as these newer and newer complex and more complex scenarios kind of come online? So that's really what most of the customers that we're working with are sharing with us as their major challenges. And we do a really good job of listening to our customers, taking the feedback on and really incorporating it into our roadmap so that our tool continues to really meet these challenges and help customers do more than ever before. So clearly, the way things are done matters more than ever before. And what we have been very laser focused on is how can we help customers really reduce errors, create greater efficiencies, and with capturing expertise in a way that is super easy. Because if you already have the experts today, you might not have them tomorrow. And so a big factor in all of this is not to just digitize a manual or a process. That's really the what. Okay, so anyone can take a manual and put it into a PDF and then start looking at it on a tablet. What Manifest can do is actually not just the what, but the how. And the way that we get the how is really through all the ancillary content of pictures, videos, augmented reality markers, in some cases holograms or 3D models. All of that is fully supported in our tool. So really what you're arming your technicians with is a rich data set where literally anyone can follow these instructions because the data around it is so strong. It is very much a YouTube world today. So a lot of our customers are really using video. And we have a great way of taking and videoing an entire process and then breaking that video into discrete steps. So for step one, you might only see 10 seconds of a video, maybe a quick picture. Step two, you see another 10 seconds of that video. And then maybe it's helped out with these augmented reality markers or holograms. So we're really, really focused on helping you capture all of this expertise and presenting it in a way that anyone can work with it successfully. So a little bit about our company. We've been around in the spatial computing game as long as humanly possible. We're headquartered in Seattle, Washington, just down the road from Microsoft. I actually spent 20 years at Microsoft before I joined Taqtile, now 7 years ago. It's hard to believe. And in doing so, we actually were on stage with Microsoft when they announced and really revealed to the world the HoloLens 1. We were one of 7 companies that was selected to build an application using spatial computing just to kind of introduce people to what a hologram was and how they could interact with that hologram to help them get a job done faster. Since that time, we've got a lot of patents, we've won some awards, and we really do have a global footprint as a company with our headquarters, as I said, in Seattle, development offices in Tucson. I'm in Paris. We have another team in Sydney. And so we're able to kind of span the world and really get people understanding what we're all about and how we can help. And then really our excellent partners. We're very proud of our partners. And then just, some brief customer examples. We work as much in commercial side with customers like Fastenal, British Airways, Lonza, et cetera. The list goes on. And then we do a lot of work in defense. So we work exclusively with U.S. Air Force, U.S. Army, U.S. Navy. We're even in some other parts of the world with other defense forces. And so throughout all of this, from our partners, from our customers, from our history, we're able to continue to refine the offering and really put something together that has immediate value as soon as you get started. And we'll be able to demonstrate that in just a second. So the core needs of all of our customers are these things. So how do they capture the expertise today before it walks out the door? How do they ensure that they have procedural accuracy and really minimize the errors as much as possible in a factory floor setting or any kind of manufacturing environment or really anything? A lot of our customers have compliance where they need to show how a process was completed successfully. And we support that through the gathering of evidence. Technicians at any point can take a picture or a video as they're going through a step-by-step procedure, and then that video can be audited as a work record, because anytime anyone touches Manifest, it does create a work record. And then what we find through the use of Manifest, it really improves the training time and the effectiveness. So there is some sort of kind of special sauce in a spatial computing environment where people are really able to understand and learn better than reading a manual. And they're able to take that learning and then move it into a factory floor setting and be more successful the first time. It also lowers this is a very kind of American term, the cognitive load, so that when people have access to all this information, they're less stressed about what they're doing. They're not trying to decipher the written word. They can actually see examples of exactly how they're supposed to be performing a specific action. And that gives them the freedom to kind of think about what they're doing and really truly understand it before they actually commit that action, which of course lowers errors. And really what that does is build more confidence and creates a more highly skilled workforce. And a way to think about that subject matter expertise and the content creation piece is if you could take one or two individuals, your top employees, and really kind of upload their brain and then share that across an entire workforce, that's extremely powerful. It allows an entire workforce to really rise to that level of expertise. So the company benefits greatly. And the individuals using Manifest actually enjoy it and have a better time doing their jobs, which we think is really important. Of course, it's all based on standards. The baseline standard operating procedures are easily integrated or used to build the content. And so we have a very strict editorial process. So you know that once content has been created, it actually goes through a publishing tiering. So you submit it, it needs to be approved, and then it needs to be published before it's actually available to the workforce. And so through these editorial gates, you can ensure that by the time it gets to someone who's being asked to complete a task, it has been approved the entire way. So you're never putting something in the hands of someone that would either create more errors or not be exactly what they need to be successful. So where we greet customers is kind of interesting. When we started with U.S. Army back in 2017, they were on pen and paper. I think a lot of folks realized that the manuals are really just kind of based on the expertise that someone can actually create themselves, as opposed to really learning from others. We've had a lot of customers come to us where they've made the huge leap of taking a paper manual and digitizing it and putting it on a tablet, but that's still doing the same thing. It's still the what, it's not the how. And where we'd like to get customers to with our tool is really this modern era where you have the how of doing something with pictures, videos, AR elements, 3D models, etc. And then, of course, through our API, we can tie into any backend system. So if you have IoT and you want to be able to share IoT in real time, if you have sensors on your machines, you want your workers to be able to actually see what those sensors are picking up as they're going through a process. Through our API, we can connect to those sensors, and we can actually show, depending on the network speed, real-time results from those IoT sensors. We are incorporating artificial intelligence quite a bit on the content creation side. That's really where we see the value of AI right now, because a lot of customers are excited about AI, but they don't have the library of information to build a significant LLM, a learning language model, that their employees could really benefit from. One of the great things about Manifest is it's the opportunity to use AI to create the content. So then you have a richer and richer data set, so that when you choose to embrace AI, you have something that it can actually draw from. And Manifest is a great curator of all of those standard operating procedures. And we can talk a little bit more about how some of our customers are actually using Manifest to build AI into what they're doing. And of course, on our roadmap, we're going to be using AI eventually to actually help technicians get a job done as well. But right now, we've really focused on the content creation piece, because that's where we see the real value today. At the same time, we support any number of headsets. You might have seen Apple Vision Pro. So we're very proud of our Apple relationship. So we fully support the iOS system with iPad, iPhone, and Apple Vision Pro. And then we have some other headsets on there. And like I said, Johnny's going to be focusing on the MetaQuest 3 today. And then, of course, we have the spatial assets. the integrations, as I've already talked about, and then the interactive procedural knowledge, and we can touch on that a little bit more in the demo. So I believe we're close to demo. Oh, we got one more slide. This is somewhat redundant in what I just said, but it really is an all-in-one operational tool. It is a digital work assistant. It's not just step-by-step instructions. And so we can draw from traditional, digital, and the modern world to get you exactly where you need to be and your employees where the information they need to be successful. And we're really able to meet customers in any one of these areas. If they've already done stuff with guides, we can actually integrate or export the guides data directly into Manifest. And so you can jumpstart, if you've already started with guides, we can take that information and give you a jumpstart on that digital content creation for Manifest. And if you're either in the traditional or the digital manner, we can work with you to create even more content that is super, super useful for your technicians. One more. And again, this gets a little redundant because I know everyone wants to see the demo. So let me just build this out really quick. But it's very much as what I've just said, which is really about all of these components that go into something that is extremely beneficial for your technicians to have in their hands. And I say in their hands, I mean, a lot of our customers started with HoloLens 2. Of course, we know that HoloLens 2 is going away. We know that guides is definitely going away. And so some of our customers are thinking, well, we don't really have the headset that's appropriate for our workspace. So, you know, MetaQuest 3 is fantastic in a training environment, but there's not a lot of workers' councils that are going to allow a fully enclosed kind of VR experience, even though we use the pass-through camera for a manufacturing environment. So we actually lean a lot on iPad because that is, though it's not hands-free, it still gives a really rich experience because you have all of this how data with pictures and videos. We do support the AR elements of an iPad as well, so we can talk about that. But that is also a really good opportunity to think about what is the right device for the use case. And as we are going through this process, we're all on this kind of spatial computing journey. As we wait for that next great device to be introduced that is appropriate for manufacturing environments, the iPad is a fantastic tool to, at the very least, capture all of the subject matter expertise you have today. Because you capture it on an iPad or with a MetaQuest 3, it'll work on any of the other devices that we support. And we'll also work on the devices that are introduced in the future. So we're really encouraging customers to focus on capturing data. If iPad or the MetaQuest 3 or some of the other headsets, you can still use HoloLens 2 if you want. We can ride that horse all the way for the next year and a half until it's actually dead. But in the meantime, you know that you have all of this great content and you will kind of go on this journey with us, and it will be available on the head-mounted device that makes the most sense for your business. So anyway, I believe, this is why I probably know this slide a little bit better. We're going to talk about the use cases, but I think it's fairly obvious. So we do a lot of work with inspections. We do a ton of work with maintenance. And then, of course, the operational training. I'm just going to reiterate that a lot of our customers, though they start with us in training, they realize that that content is as useful on the factory floor. And even if the perfect device isn't there, iPad, MetaQuest 3 does allow for that same training content to be used when you're actually doing real work. So we can work with you individually to determine what is the right device for the use case, and then work with you on creating the content that is most appropriate for your workforce. So with that, I am now going to stop sharing.
So what we have today is we're in the MetaQuest 3. Unfortunately, we're not in a production line or an air hangar or a defense base. We're in my flat in London. So you're going to have to forgive the white walls. And today we're not going to be able to do a demo on a physical bit of equipment. So it's important to notice that in the videos that John showed and a lot of the content John was showing and talking around, all of this was done on physical bits of equipment. So real aircraft, real machinery, real engines. And that's great. We can have guidance and work instructions and a digital assistant helping someone complete tasks and training there. But what we can also do is bring in 3D models. So what I've got in front of me is a scaled down version of an engine, an air conditioning engine. So I'm in a hands-free environment, meaning you should be able to see my hands just in front of me here. We can navigate in Manifest, as you can see, with the two pointing lines coming out of my fingers. So it's a full free hands-free environment. I can even use my voice or even my eyes to select and navigate. But today we have a 3D model. So what we can do is view this 3D model as if it was really a piece of physical kit. If I walk up close to the 3D model, it's actually locked and anchored in physical space, meaning that I could walk around this 3D model and actually go a full 360 around. We can bring in really high definition 3D models or jagged 3D models if appropriate. But this today is going to be just a digital representation of a physical asset. So if you put yourself in the shoes of a real technician going and seeing a real engine like we have here, then we'll show you what Manifest can do for you. So in that scenario, what I've done is if I was a technician and I knew I had to come and do some maintenance on this physical piece of kit, I've come into my workstation and I've actually found my asset. So I found the engine I'm working on. I then put on my headset, and what I can do is if I look to my left, what I've already done is I've brought up my work package for the day. So I will be assigned a number of jobs ranging from inspections, maintenance, repair, assembly, disassembly, any job which a technician or a mechanic or an engineer might be going through, I would be assigned in Manifest. So you can see for today, we've been assigned a daily functionality inspection of the York chiller. So this is actually created a unique work record and work package. So you can see at the top, I've got a small number here which says 1457. So that's the unique identifier for this job. You can see there's a timer at the top and there's also a percentage marker. So when I start this job, we're actually creating a data record that can be reviewed, analyzed, and then plugged into predictive maintenance manual engine as well. So what I can do first is I can actually review all the steps. So you can see there are 4 steps on this first page. Each step has a short description, just telling me what to do. So just like you would with a paper-based manual or a PDF manual, we have a number of steps. But now in Manifest, what we can also do is bring in additional notes, so enriched media, like text notes, videos, bookmark manuals, photos, annotations, and we can bring them in and we can review them before the job starts. But before I do that, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to quickly review all this work so I can review all the steps. And then when I'm ready, what I can do is I can hit this start job button. So as soon as I hit this start job button at the top, you can see this timer is going to start. So that timer is now ticking away. And just to make things a little bit neater, I'm going to minimize one of these screens. Now, in the very, very center of my screen, you should see, it might look a little bit jarring against the white wall, but there's a blue arrow. So within Manifest, especially on the headsets, we are taking in all the spatial data. So I've associated myself with the asset, so that 3D model to my right. And now that we've started the work procedure, I'm going to be guided to wherever the next step for this procedure is. So you can see this arrow is pointing to my right. And if I look to my right, you can see that overlaid on top of, again, today the 3D model, but this could be a physical asset, so a real engine, a real chiller. I'm now given some AR content. So this 2D UI element, which appears just here, this is the first indication of some spatial markers. So this is locked in physical space. So if I look away, look to the right, it won't follow me, but it will always be pointing towards my head. So if I move to the right of the engine, it will always guide me. And so I can always have a clean view of what the description is and what task I'm on today. So with that being said, Manifest is really broken into 3 different areas when thinking about the work instruction. The first area is we have this, what we call a step description and step marker. So this step marker is, again, locked in physical space, but I can actually move this around. So if I want to move it up or move it down, it's all very easy to move. But what this does is it's telling me what step I'm on, so number 1, and then it gives me a short description telling me what to do. So just like your manuals, your guidance, or any PDF stuff you have at the moment, it would be a simple step. So this is asking me to check entering and leaving condenser water pressures and temperatures. So that's telling me what to do. Next, what I can do is I can actually look to my left and follow these yellow lines. So these yellow lines are what we call leader lines. They lead someone's eyes and lead someone's vision of where to look and where to perform their job. So if I follow these lines, you should be able to see that there are 3 or 4 gauges. And these gauges, again, in a real scenario, they would have the gauges of the temperatures and pressures that I'm supposed to be looking at. So as we're working on a 3D model today, these only point to the 3D model versions. But if this was physically here, this physical engine, they would actually point me and guide me to where I'm working for this step. Now, in Manifest, we can also bring in sensor data. So we can also bring in IoT, sensors, data points. So if this engine, if this chiller was connected to some IoT, was connected to data, and these gauges were linked to a sort of an IoT system, we could pull that data into Manifest and have it as a near real-time solution. So if these gauges on the physical asset were behind some casing or in a dangerous environment, what we could do is actually, as you can see here, we can overlay data. So we can overlay 4 data points for the pressures and temperatures on top of the physical asset. So we're trying to, I guess, take away the complexity and the danger of an end user checking these gauges if necessary. So what we've done is check the first step of what to do. Then we've seen where we're doing this task over to the left. But now we actually need to know how we do this task and how we can perform it. So what I'm going to now do is just underneath the step description, we have something called notes. And if I tap on a text note, for example, I can really, really quickly bring up, this is a super basic example, but a text note. So this text note is telling me the available or the appropriate thresholds for the temperatures and pressures. You can see we've got the 2 markings in there. Now what I can do is everything in Manifest is modular and movable. So it's modular in the sense that if I tap and hold this move button, I can break apart that text note. And it's movable in that I can actually drag this over to just to the right or just to the left of these markers. And then very, very easily, with sort of a flick of my eyes, I don't even have to move my head. I can read the text note and check the gauges. So really, really useful to be able to break apart content and place things in a consumable fashion. So that being said, I've checked all of the gauges from my text note. I can now close that down. And once that's closed, I can move back to my step description. And once you've completed this step, I can simply hit this done button. So with that step being done, I'll hit done. And the next thing that will happen is, just like before, hopefully you can see in the center of my screen, I've now got another blue arrow. So this blue arrow is guiding me of where to look for my next step. So this is really, really important. For this 3D model and this demo, it only happens once or twice. But if you're working on a large asset, say 20 feet long, a long production line, a big vehicle, these navigational cues are super important to guide us to the next step. And just guide someone, make sure they're really efficient in the way they work, and they can be guided exactly to where they're looking to complete the job. So with step 2, we have a very similar format where we have a step description up at the top. And this step description, if I move it to the left slightly, is asking me to initiate an oil check on keypad. Just like before, we have a yellow leader line guiding me of where to look. And then we actually also have a red annotation square. So this red box just appearing on top of the keypad. So again, if this was a physical chiller, this was a real engine in front of me that I could touch and feel, this red box would appear on top of the physical keypad, just highlighting me of the area I'm supposed to be working in. So I know what I'm doing, I know where I'm doing the job. Now, in Manifest, we can also ingest pre-created content. So your PDF manuals, your Word instructions, whatever content you've already created, we can ingest and have available. Because often manufacturing manuals, operating manuals, they can be the word of law, and you have to have them in the background for some use cases. So what we can do is I can actually tap on where it says bookmark just underneath the notes section. And you can see I can open up a number of different notes for documents. This one is the install operational manual for the Orc chiller. So if I tap this open, and I'm just going to move this to the left to make it a bit neater, like so, you can see that I can actually open up a PDF manual. So I'll scale this up slightly so you can see and have a better view, but I can bring in this full manual. So if I look down, you will be able to see that this manual has immediately been placed to page 107 of 154. So we can pinpoint the exact information a user needs to see on the exact step they're working on. Likewise, I can actually cycle through these pages, skip through, maybe I need to go to page 109 just to get a reference number. And then when I'm ready, I can maybe cycle back to 107 and read through. So we can have these manuals in the background, and we can pinpoint users to the exact page they need to be on for the exact step they work on. And this is actually probably quite a small example of 154. Some of our customers we work with have manuals which are 3,000 to 5,000 pages long. So we can ingest that here, have that available if needs be in the background, but we can pinpoint them to the exact information they need at the exact time. But with that being said, obviously we're trying to move away from stuff like PDF manuals and even written manuals. So what's probably more useful is I can also open up a video. So if I just bring up a video on the right-hand side and I'll scale this up, you can see we can also bring up just next to the model we're working on, just next to the keypad, a video. And this video is a 20-second, I think 25-second long video. It's super, super simple. But what it gives someone is a review of where this keypad is on the machine. And I'll play this video again. Where this video is on the machine. So they're walking around the engine. And then it gives them the exact key sequence that they need to input to get this oil check initiated. So I don't think there's audio on this video, but we can have audio, we can have subtitles. So if it's a loud environment, you can still have that audio communicated. And just like before, if I wanted to, I can break this apart. Maybe I want to move it to the left. Maybe that's a better place for me. And then I can hit play again. And then the perfect scenario here is I would have this video playing. I would be in front of the real keypad. And then while someone's going through in the video of the sequence, I could just simply insert that onto the keypad. Having these videos, these short snippets are really, really useful for every step. So with that being said, I can close down that video note, and now I can move to the next step. So I can hit done, and then that moves me to the next step, which is number 3. And number 3 is asking me, again, a very similar format. We don't differ too much here. We have step 3 asking us to check the oil level in the oil separator. We have a yellow leader line guiding us of where to look. And then we have a couple annotations, some AR annotations, so I can maybe get closer and see that we have a blue square navigating around, and then we have a red hand and a green hand just guiding us on what's the appropriate level. So the important thing that we actually want to see here is I actually need to make a decision now. So as a technician, I need to look at the oil level and I need to make a decision on if it's at an appropriate level. So if I look to my right, I actually have a number of options to choose from. So the previous 2 steps have been very linear. I do a task and I move on to the next step. But with this procedure or this step, I'm actually being asked to make a decision. So I need to check if the oil level is normal, if it's above the sight glass, or if it's not visible at all. So each one of these options might lead me to a different path of my procedure. Obviously, in operational or training environments, not every procedure is linear. Lots of decisions need to be made. So we can incorporate these really easily into Manifest. And each one of these options, A, B, and C, could go down into a split decision tree. So with that being said, I now need to make my decision. So just like before, I'm actually going to open up a photo note, and really, really simple, I can see a review of what's appropriate. So I can see what's an okay level, which is slightly viewable. I can see what excess is, and then I can also see what the oil level low was looking like. And then what I'd have to do, simply look at the oil separator just in front of me, and then I'd have to make that review myself. So I could then quickly move back to my next step, my decision. But if we take a pause here, and if I run into an issue, so if for whatever reason I run into an issue with operating and completing this task, I have a few options available to me. So I'm not all by myself here, even though the content could be great, and hopefully I don't have to ask for help. If I did run into an issue and I needed some support while doing this job, I can actually have an expert remotely connect to me, and we can have a video call. So what I can do is if I navigate to the top where it says connect and I tap that, what I can do is open up a list of users who are on this platform. So you can see we have all these users on this platform that I can make a video call with. And they could be sat at a laptop, either in the same building as me or half the world away. They could be on an iPad stood next to me, or they could be in a different room. So whatever device an end user can log into, they can actually access a video call to me. So if for whatever reason I needed to call Alice Byrne, I knew she was my manager and she was the one who was going to help me complete this task, I could hit Alice. And then if she was online, if her name was green, I could hit this call button just here. And that would initiate a video call. And the video call would essentially be what you're seeing right now. You'd be able to see my hands, you'd be able to see where I'm looking, and you'd be able to see all the assets in front of me. So the 3D assets, the physical assets, and you'd be able to guide me for a problem. In the background of that, I did actually also see that if I look to my left, John has sent me a message. So you can see also we can have a text chat and a video chat at the same time. So John obviously said, "Hi Johnny, the demo is going great," which is some good review. Likewise, I could send him a message. I could type out a message or send him a voice note very easily. But probably more importantly, John could actually send me images, manuals, videos. He could talk me through a problem. He could provide immediate support to me, so I don't have to stop the job. I can complete the job once I've started it immediately. So that's a super important feature we have. Hopefully, if you create good enough content and the content is rich and has been thought through, you don't need to use this feature, but it is there in the background, available for technicians and admins to use when needed. So I'll quickly close that down. And if I look back to my procedure, what I can do now is if John, maybe he'd help me work through this problem. I'd had a quick chat with him and he said, "Go ahead, the oil level looks fine." What I can do is move to the next step. So I'll hit this number A, which says oil level is normal. And then I'll move to the next step, just like so. So with this, one or two more steps before we go. This next step, very similar, where we have a step description asking myself to perform a general damage inspection of the chiller. As you can see, hopefully it's coming through smoothly. We do have quite a cool feature with Manifest, which we call hand notes. So here they are, they're playing. They are essentially ghost hands. They're animated hands that follow a real person's hand placement and where someone should place a hand. So in this scenario, it's asking me just to follow a certain series of checks for a damage check, but we can actually bring in these hands, and these hands could guide someone on which way to turn a rotor, which way to place someone's hands for safety reasons, and we can bring these in really easily. There are no code requirements, just created in the authoring process very easily.
Johnny, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Are those hands the ones you will see when wearing the Quest headset, and are those recorded?
So on HoloLens,
on the Quest headset, or how do you create it?
Yeah, so they would be on a headset. So either HoloLens 2, Apple Vision Pro, or MetaQuest. Each one of those headsets, they do track your hands. So if I look to my left, you'll be able to see that I have the hands tracking. These hands essentially follow those planes. Yeah. So in the authoring process, when we create this content, and I guess it's just maybe important to say that all the content we create in Manifest, so all the content you've seen today, is created with a no-code environment, meaning that anyone who's trained to use Manifest doesn't need to be able to create content using code. They don't need to be technical. They just really need to be able to drag and drop and have some basic data entry. So the authoring we have here is while in the authoring process, while you're writing out the instructions, you'd essentially ask the system to track your hands for this step. So you'd say for step 4, I'd like, while a headset on, track my hands. And again, if there's a physical asset in front of me, I can actually move my hands over that asset and the headset would track where they place. And
that's
then
pretty easy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's incredibly easy. Yeah. And it looks much better with a physical asset. So again, if this was a real thing in front of me, a real tangible, touchable thing, having these hands either static or moving, they're really useful to guiding someone and giving someone confidence in where to place and what to do.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I'll continue. If any questions, do shout out. But I've got one or two more things to show on the procedural side. Then we can maybe jump into any full Q&A or anything else we want to go through. But if you can see, on this this step, we have been asked to do a general damage inspection. So we're being asked to just do a once over of this asset and make sure everything looks okay. But if I did find a problem, so say I found an issue, and maybe I have found that this emergency handle was faulty. So over here, this red handle, it wasn't properly working or it's slightly broken. What I can do is I can actually open up a fault. So I can create a unique fault for this asset. So we can start to create a piece of data history for this asset. What I can do is if I look to the top and where the step note, it says add fault, I can click add fault like so. And what I can then do is add AR, so an augmented reality enabled fault marker. So what I'm going to do is move this fault marker to the handle, and you can see that will be locked there in place. So it's actually locked. If I look away, it will stay. So I'm leaving a fault marker just next to the handle. And then just like some of the steps we've created or gone through, I'm going to leave what we call a leader line. So this leader line will just move up just next to that emergency handle. And so we're guiding someone that the fault's in just general location, and then we're leading someone to the exact location with the leader line. What I can then do is open up and add a fault title. And I could either type this in using sort of gesture control, or I could tap with the actual keyboard, but probably more useful as I can actually use audio to text. So I can just say, emergency handle broken. Someone will need to come and fix this. And hit enter. So what we've done is we've really quickly just identified a fault. We've left a quick description of the fault. And now what we can do is, I'm actually just going to move this up slightly like here. We can also leave some notes. So what we could do is I could add at the bottom a video note or a photo note or a text or audio note. So most usefully will be the photo note or video note. And we could video or take a photo of the exact problem that's in front of me. So again, this would be more important and more useful on a physical asset where you have a physical handle in front of you. But what you would do is you'd hit this potentially video and you'd hit the record button, and then I'd maybe move my camera, and I'd using the headset's cameras, I would record the issue. So I'd take a video and add that video to this fault. So as an example, I'll actually take a quick photo like so. The photo will come up a little bit weird because I'm already streaming, but if I tap add capture like so, you can see we're adding a photo just to the right, and then I can hit OK. And that photo is all now being uploaded to this fault and onto Manifest. So we're creating a unique piece of data, a unique fault. And one more thing that is very, very useful with this fault data is we can also create unique codes. So if I tap on faults, we can also create unique fault codes. So if you work with a business or work with an industry where you already have some internal fault codes, we can just simply import them and we'll create them very easily in Manifest. So this bottom one here is actually an aerospace example, but if I tap on the general visual damage, you can see we have fault codes. So fault code 1 is rotor damage, fault code 2 is left side panel, but maybe I'll select 04. So fault code 4 is structural wear. And then I can hit OK. And then we've actually associated that with this fault. So we've said we've associated a fault with some spatial data, like so. We've gave it a leader line to isolate the exact problem. We then left a handle saying emergency handle, someone is broken, someone needs to come and fix this. We've left the photo, we've left a custom fault. We've really gave a rich piece of data for this fault. And then what I can do, hit done. And that's now saved the fault. Yeah.
If I'm correct, Meta just released the access to the camera.
Mm-hmm.
There was a problem before. So the video recording, is it working already with the new access to the camera in the MetaQuest 3 environment?
So it will do, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's we've been waiting for those APIs and those front-facing cameras has come available, but essentially that would happen, and you would have seen on the photo that the black background that would be replaced with your real view. The Apple Vision Pro, they obviously have released their front-facing cameras, and that's now working with us. So that would be the plan for the MetaQuest as well, to have the front-facing cameras be able to scan, be able to take photos, videos, and have the real and the digital elements combined. Yeah.
Yeah. So that will also allow to scan a printed QR code.
Exactly. Yeah. That's exactly it.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay, so we are getting to the end. So what I've done is I've completed my general inspection or general damage inspection. I can hit done to the last step. And the last one, I finally completed my task. I'm being asked to take a picture as evidence the maintenance is done. So what you can see is that at the very top in the middle of this step, again, very similar to the ones before, we actually have a new marker, new icon, which just says evidence required. So on each one of the steps I've gone through today, each 4 of the steps, I've just managed to go through each one at my own pace. I've had to make decisions, I've had to do tasks, but I've been able to move through and complete the job. If I try to move past this step, though, without taking a photo as evidence and hit done, it's going to throw an error and it will say this step requires evidence type photo. So I can hit OK. And on each step, we've actually had this yellow bar be beneath our step description. And if I tap this yellow bar, it will actually show a couple options. So on each step, we have the optional ability to leave evidence. So evidence is videos, photos, text notes, audio notes, some information that will help me complete my job and help me approve that the job has been done appropriately. But on this final step, I am actually having to leave this as a mandatory field. So I cannot move on until I leave, in this scenario, a photo note. So what I can do here is I can simply open up the evidence tab, hit photo, and then I can take a photo. So I'd maybe just be able to take a photo of the job I'd done. Again, without the front-facing cameras working quite well at the moment, it will look slightly weird, but I can simply hit capture. That photo will be taken. I can hit OK. And that's now been uploaded to Manifest, so my work package. And again, this work package is creating a data record. So we're constantly tracking that. On step 4, I left the fault. On step 5, I've left the photo evidence. And then as soon as I hit this done button, my job is actually going to be complete. So the asset stays in front of me. But if I look to my left, this work package is now being completed. So you can see still we've got this ID number of 1457, but the job has been completed. It took 24 minutes on this date, and I can actually now review the job. So really quickly on a headset or an iPad, once I completed it, I can see all the steps I completed with the ticks. I can see any evidence I left or any faults. You can see we left a fault here, some evidence at the bottom, and I can do a really, really quick check on device. But more importantly, once I've completed this job, a manager or an admin or someone who's looking after me or managing me, they would also be able to review this job. So we also have a web portal where this is much more consumable. But now the job is completed, I can move on to additional work, more jobs, but we've completed it and it's ready to be reviewed now. So that's it for the demo on MetaQuest 3. If there's any questions or if anyone wants to see anything additional or want to see something again, feel free to ask. Happy to stay in the headset and show something additional if anyone needs, but feel free to ask any questions.
So thank you, Johnny. It was a perfect demonstration. I really liked it. And I also learned new things. Yeah, Umair, you have a question?
Yes. Yes, I have a question that what is the difference between Dynamics 365 and Manifest software?
Yeah, so do you mean Microsoft Guides, did you say?
Could you repeat the question? I didn't quite get it myself.
Me too.
What is the difference between Dynamics 365 and Manifest software? Because both used, I think, a mixed reality or
Yeah.
augmented reality. So where is the difference?
So yeah, so I think that Microsoft Guides is, I think, the what you're speaking around, which is the HoloLens equivalent. They are similar technologies in we both use spatial computing and spatial guidance. I think the difference that we have from Microsoft Guides is we have a much richer set of data, meaning that all the content you create can be created very easily, but it is also we're not just creating a guide, we're creating a digital work assistant, as John said. So we're creating a data record for each job which is completed. So if I look back to my left, we're not just creating a one-off guide for someone to put on a headset, be told what to do once, and then never pick it up again. We're creating a platform that we've actually created a set of data for the job and for the asset and for the user. So we're not just creating a guidance, we're creating a digital work assistant for data, really. There are quite a few other features as well. I think if you've used guides, it's quite intuitive and I think very easy to pick up, but it is quite basic in features. Manifest has some more complex features when it comes to actual spatial computing and guidance and 3D elements. I think we kind of take over them when it comes to actually in scale and in production use as well.
Yeah, I think the real big differentiator is not just what Johnny described, but also in the content creation. So you can just start creating content. You don't need to have a 3D model. You can actually just create content directly on a physical asset in a no-code environment. We can train someone on how to create content in as little as 20 minutes, and then they can walk up with their subject matter expert and create step-by-step instructions for literally anything in a no-code environment. So you don't need to involve anyone from IT. You don't need to sit in front of a computer. You can just use an iPad, a MetaQuest 3, a HoloLens. It's really up to you. So we're really trying to harness the strength of subject matter expertise and be able to capture that very, very easily.
I have one more question. That as you are showing manifest, is it augmented reality or mixed reality? Because we cannot see our hands in this video, like from the real world. So it seems that it is pure augmented reality.
Well, there's really no difference. I mean, it's semantics. I mean, it's difficult to understand what the difference between augmented reality and mixed reality is. Our product works on physical equipment. It also works on 3D models, which we demonstrated today because Johnny doesn't live in a factory. But you'll see from the video, all of our customers are using it on real world equipment. So it is a mixed reality using augmented reality elements to help people get the job done right the first time.
Yeah, I would say since it's using the cameras from the MetaQuest headset, it's probably the mixed reality, as Meta puts it itself. If they would be showing it with the HoloLens, where you have a transparent display, you could probably call it augmented reality, but
yeah,
there are no real definitions or hard definitions for both.
Exactly. It works exactly as you described, either pass-through camera or on a HoloLens with a transparent screen or with an iPad. It covers everything.
Okay, so in short, if I conclude my question and answers, the difference between Dynamics 365 and Manifest is that in Dynamics 365 we have to give much more data or stuff like code in order to work, whereas the Manifest is much more specifically designed for the operational stuff, for the maintenance purpose, and much more sophisticated software in terms of operations.
Yeah, Uma, yeah, if I jump in here. So you will learn in our advanced topics in industrial engineering how to use the HoloLens and guides. So that give you the example of what guides is capable. But I agree with John and Johnny that Taqtile Manifest, from what I'm able to observe, is way more sophisticated.
Well, that and also Microsoft has canceled guides.
Yeah.
So there's really no point in continuing with guides at this point, though Manifest is here to stay. That's the other big differentiator.
True. Do we have any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Stefan, go ahead.
So, yeah, okay. So as far as I understood, you're using MetaQuest 3 as a device, but I have a question. Have you tried using the MetaQuest 3S, and how does it compare? Because I know it.
So we support the MetaQuest 3S as well. It's a similar experience.
It has the same performance, but I know it has lower.
The hardware, like the processor and so on, is all the same between Quest 3 and 3S, so there's no difference. I showed you in the lab the two devices, and only the lenses are different, the only difference.
And about the resolution, is it also
same?
Same.
The same.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you.
Welcome. Any other questions?
I guess just to fully show the loop we had. As I think we mentioned a couple of times, Manifest is a software which sits across many devices. So although I was working on a MetaQuest 3 just then, we do a ton of work on iPad. So you could have consumed all of that content on the iPad as well. But in the background of that, we do have a web portal. So I'm logged in as myself on this web portal. I'm an admin, so I have sort of blanket wide access to all the content. And what you can see is, I won't go through everything today, but if I jump to this is where John could have given me support. So you don't have to be on a headset or an iPad to join a video call. We can have a text chat from web portal. Likewise, this is probably the appropriate place for a support staff to sit on a web portal to provide video support. But most importantly, what I can do from this web portal is I can see all the in progress jobs. So if I go to the work tab on the left, I can see all the in progress jobs on the platform. So you can see their percentage in progress, what job they're working on, what specific asset they're working on. So you can see the asset ID, the serial number, the asset tag. But then also what I can do is if I jump to this work history tab, I can open up jobs which have been completed. So this one, again, if you remember 1457, this job just here was the asset we were working on. So daily and functionality inspection. And if I tap open, I'll zoom in slightly as well. I can see that this job was completed. It's completed Thursday, 20th of March, the time. So all of this is translated from the headset and the job completed. And I know I'm looking at this, but it could be a manager. I can see all the asset information as well. So any unique data which is unique to this customer in this asset. And then what I can do is I can just scroll down and I can see step 1 was completed, step 2 was completed, step 3 was completed with some evidence. So if I open up evidence, you can see a choice note was made, and the choice was that the oil level was normal. So I made that decision while completing the task. But most importantly, if I scroll down to the last 2 steps, you can actually see that I can open up a fault. So me as a manager, me or as sort of an admin, I could see the information which someone created. So if I go show fault, you can see, yeah, okay, move this. So Johnny left a fault saying emergency handle broken, someone will need to come fix this. He left 2 fault notes. One was the photo, and then one was the custom fault code. So we can really create a rich piece of data. And for whoever who's going to, I guess, take this on, the web portal is a really, really useful place to consume this data. So from here, if I know when I'm an admin, I got an alert that a fault was raised, I could actually add some work as well. So I could say, okay, we need to add another job, and we're going into some deeper features of Manifest now. So I'll cancel that. But we can actually review the job, review all the work, and even assign some new work based on a fault.
And we have just added this with this admin portal. We actually have a number of customers who are creating step-by-step instructions for the products that they manufacture, and then they are selling Manifest licenses as a support tool to their end customers with that data. So we have the ability through Manifest to manage, if you're at the root level, you can manage any number of your customers through an area called orgs, which is short for organizations, and you can actually have the individual customers all in the same domain, and you can manage all the content that they're getting, the support calls, everything else. So you can actually use this as a services tool for your end customers. So we go much farther than guides probably ever would have if it had continued, to really create a very strong enterprise tool, not only for internal teams, but also for end customers. So that's a kind of an exciting development that we've seen over the last 2 years.
I have another question. Johnny, you mentioned the IoT devices you can interface to Taqtile Manifest.
Yep.
So I guess they have to fulfill a certain interface in order to be connected to your software. What is the best interface to use?
So it really depends on what, I guess, IoT sensors and connectors you have available. So if I just present my screen again, you give me one moment, I'll jump around.
I would have in mind to maybe buy one which works best for the lab to show integrated.
Yeah, so it more depends on, we actually have this list, so I can put this in the chat. in a moment. But this is, if you go to api.taqtile.com, this is a list of open APIs we have for Manifest. So if you were a customer and you had a domain, so like the one I was just working on a moment ago, you could open up any of these fields. So say I wanted to have an integration with sensors. So maybe meter readings is what we would describe that as. If I go to where it says add meter, it would open up just a simple JSON query and script that I could, I guess, push into like REST API and have pinging the manifest domain. So if you had either, I guess, a dummy data or real data source, which you could then link this script into, that would be the easiest way, or the way we have it. So we have these list of open APIs, we have the fields available, so all the naming cultures here, and the scripts are available if needed as well.
Okay, thank you.
So if I could just show one last thing. So one of the things that we're doing for customers right now is we have what is called a Rapid Insights program. So what the Rapid Insights program is, the ability to try out Manifest without making any kind of huge commitment. Let me just see here. Again, I'm not super used to Zoom, so I got to figure out where this is. There we go. So it's really designed to help organizations figure out if Manifest is going to work for them. And so it's a focused engagement where we provide unlimited licenses. We help create the first couple of procedures. We really do a lot of hand-holding and work with you to determine exactly what you need to do to be successful, both on the content creation side, but also on the kind of the technician engagement and really understanding what they need to have in front of them to be successful in their tasks. So this is an offer that we have available today. So if customers are interested in trying out Manifest, I'd be happy to share the details of our Rapid Insights program, and then we can figure out exactly when to start and how that could actually work for you. So if there's anything that people want to reach back out to me, we have through Andreas or my email address, so sure, as part of this invitation, feel free to come back to me and I can send you or share more details on this offer.
Very good. Thank you, John.
Sure.
Any further questions from the audience? Look like we don't have any questions left open. I have a last question then. So you were talking in the beginning about the different headsets, and we have some companies in our area where we introduced the HoloLens and guides, and they did a first project. They did a survey in the company. People really liked it, and then now the HoloLens is discontinued and guides as well. So there is the MetaQuest glass, which is price-wise much more affordable. So the HoloLens was 4,000 euros, and the MetaQuest headset is about starting at 330 euros. But it doesn't have the transparent displays, as you mentioned, but there is that Meta Orion, which has been introduced or showcased by Mark Zuckerberg last year. What do you have any insights, or what is your believing the things which are developed for the Quest headsets? Will it be continued up to that Meta Orion, which would be kind of the new HoloLens because it has transparent displays and is even more lightweight compared to the HoloLens?
Yeah, I mean, we're excited about that device. Currently it costs $10,000. So that is not a device anyone is really going to buy.
There are only 1,000 made, so these are just
yeah, exactly. So I mean, I think what we're going to end up doing is continuing to refine the waveguide technology. We like the fact that they are continued in this journey. We also believe that Apple will come out with another device, though it's unclear if that will continue to be in the same form factor, if they will go through a transparent lens. We're actually working very closely with a company in South Korea that is developed a device that is very similar, kind of in between the HoloLens 1 and HoloLens 2, that has a transparent display. And we are sorry?
What is that company name and product?
Yeah, I don't have that company name in front of me. In fact, I met those guys at Mobile World Congress last year. and they are continuing to talk to us through our US development offices. But we like that device quite a bit, and I can certainly share more details on that. So it's all about just really understanding this is a journey. So no one knows what Meta is going to do. No one has any insights. They're not sharing anything, and Apple is even more secretive. So for us, it's just about helping customers capture their subject matter expertise today before it leaves the workplace, and understanding that we're going to support the best devices coming forward. So it's really about do it before you lose it. And then together over those 18, 24 months, we'll have a device that probably works for everyone.
Yep. So you also mentioned that your software is running on an iPad, and we had some discussion with companies in our area which said, yeah, headset is nice, but maybe it also works on an iPad. So that's a good opportunity, which is working right away.
Exactly. Yeah. And really one of the best content creation experiences is on iPad today with our sister product called Manifest Maker, which we didn't get a chance to demonstrate today, but I can share a video that people can watch. And then it really makes it in a no-code environment, very, very simple to capture subject matter expertise and then use it on any device.
Okay, and another last question. Google also announced that they're going to bring out a device. It looks similar like the Apple Vision Pro. You have any insights from that?
None of these companies are sharing anything external with anyone. So anyone who says they have information, I wouldn't believe them.
Okay. So, and it's too early to develop for that platform because that product has not been released.
Correct.
At all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But if I am correct, it was announced for this year.
Yeah, I've seen announcements come and go. So we'll see what happens.
Okay, yeah. So maybe last quarter or next year.
Yeah, I mean we're paying as much attention as possible, like you. So I think we're all they pretty much let someone know the day before the announcement goes out, and then you just scramble to take advantage of it. So we're in the same boat.
Yeah. Okay. We have 5 minutes left. Do we have any final questions from the audience? No, doesn't look like that. So thank you again, John and Johnny, for that wonderful presentation today.
Thank you for having us.
And I'm really glad that we were able to record it. So we'll prepare it and then put it on the YouTube channel and share the link afterwards for everybody to enjoy it again or share it with friends.
Okay, terrific. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.